Ryan Coogler has presented to us a genreless period piece that's also a blues musical that's also a vampire horror flick. Sinners exploded on the film scene on April 18th, 2025, and was a resounding success, making over $300 million on its estimated $90 million budget. This broke through that mold that most films regarded as horror movies stick to. Low budget, low revenue. Sinners might be resurrecting Hollywood with an original screenplay getting this much attention and good reviews. Lightning definitely struck for this film, and honestly, I see it as a very good thing. Whether you love or hate Sinners, the fact that a quote-unquote horror movie with a $90 million budget has a completely original screenplay and managed to garner this much success is a possible good sign for the future of film. In the best case scenario, we might be seeing more blockbusters with original scripts and twisted genres. And that would be all because of this cultural milestone of a film called Sinners. I think my forever deepest regret will be not seeing this film in theaters. I feel as if I've disrespected it. Watching it on my home TV instead of having my jaw drop to the floor while watching this on the big screen. This is such a beautiful film, and as I'm sure you've heard, Coogler decided to do something unheard of and use both Ultra Panavision 70 and IMAX rigs to achieve the amazing look between varying scenes. This film uses a 2.76:1 aspect ratio on the Ultra Panavision 70 for intimate or expository scenes like character building and setup. For the more harrowing and spectacle-esque scenes, Sinners uses a 1.43:1 aspect ratio on an IMAX 70mm. One of the things I'm adding to my bucket list is to watch this movie on the big screen one day. I need to see the full IMAX experience this movie provides. Of course, the home releases have a cropped and reportedly darker version of this film. I really noticed this in the nighttime and indoor scenes that at some points this film was excessively dark, but it didn't necessarily pull me out of it. The use of 2.76:1 for the most part made the 1.43:1 scenes feel so impactful, and the fact that it was used pretty sparingly made me vividly remember the moments when the aspect ratio did change. Seeing the uniquely wide 2.76:1 scenes transition to the colossal 1.43:1 made for some unforgettable moments. Whether it was the open landscapes of the South or a crescendoing action scene, these scenes are made so much more immersive by an amazing IMAX experience, even if I did get a watered down version of it. From the scenes early on in the open fields to the later sequences in the juke joint, this film's variety in color and ambiance shine through perfectly in the use of these two rigs. The IMAX especially comes through in the couple oneers that this film pulls, which I'll get more into later when we get to those scenes. Now, to talk about the actual plot, Sinners takes place in the Mississippi Delta, following two twins known as the Smokestack Twins, both played by Michael B. Jordan. The duo return to their hometown after hitting it big in Chicago working for Al Capone, gaining blood money. With their newfound wealth, they decide to try and open a juke joint in their southern hometown to find a new life, clean their money, and create a safe and enjoyable spot for the community residing in the Delta. The way this is told is seamless, as it comes through the shock of the people the twins used to know reuniting with them, and asking about their time in Chicago. The first start of this film is basically the twins trying to assemble anyone they can to help them out with setting up this juke joint, all the while spreading the word of mouth about it. I really like this approach to introducing the characters. It feels natural, and I especially like seeing that everyone here already knows one another. It makes the Delta feel a lot smaller and like a tight-knit community. The really nice touches are when certain older characters refer to others as their childhood nicknames, like when Cornbread calls Mary Little Mary, or when Mary remembers Sammy as Little Sammy. It's a great touch that makes it feel all the more connected, as well as deepening the history of the community that much more. This is the part of the film that really feels like a stylized period piece. I was instantly immersed into Stack's slick talk and Smoke's stoicity as they wandered through their journeys to meet back with the people they love and care for. This is of course where we meet the striving, humble musician Sammy, played by a real-life musician, Miles Catton. I absolutely love this character. He is at the very heart of this story, as everything we see transpire is only a memory for him at the very end of it all. Like he managed to escape the devil's grasp and is living on through his music in the 90s. Nearly every ounce of symbolism is lived on through this character. Preacher Boy is at the very essence of Sinners. The Stack side of the story sees him gathering Sammy, Slim, and Cornbread to contribute to the juke joint. Slim is also a funny and likable character that serves as old wisdom, but also as comic relief at times. He's a really likable character that makes the world's backstory even deeper. Smoke reunites with his old lover Annie. Their relationship is believable enough with this scene with them reflecting everything they've been through and how Smoke would do anything to protect her. I like Annie's character, as she serves as the sort of encyclopedia in all things we need to know about the vampires later, and the voodoo elements make the supernatural aspects of this film a little more believable and in place. I want to take a moment to talk about Michael B. Jordan and his characters. He acts his ass off in this film, giving a career best performance in my opinion. I particularly like Smoke's character and what he has to go through to get to where he is by the end of the film. Jordan's facial expressions are on point, and when Stack dies later on in the film, his face as Smoke genuinely looks distraught. His performance as Stack is also amazing. The twins bring out the messages of identity and cultural assimilation to its fullest here. Smoke is protective, stoic, genuine, and loyal to where and who he resides with. Stack shares some traits with Smoke, except Stack engages in deals and schemes, and he steers conversations to his liking. By the end of the film, Stack is fully assimilated and is a far cry from the rooted man he once was. It's shown purely through his outfit, wearing loud colors and bright jewelry that were likely trends at the time. He even has Stack with a $sign across his fingers in gold, suggesting that he might have made some sort of artist or brand name out of it throughout his years of eternity. Smoke, on the other hand, died seeing Annie and their child in the afterlife, showing family and pure heart. After the first act of the film is over, we meet Remick, played perfectly by Jack O'Connell. I think Remick is a really great antagonist and is really important to the overall story. He's kind of what wraps this whole setup up, as well as being the transitioning point between acts. This shot of him falling into frame as if he just fell out of the sky is brilliant. Much like a fallen angel, it's like he is now invading the movie and breaking up everything the viewer has learned up until this point. The music in the conclusive sequence beforehand, showing where everyone is and where they're headed to, also gives a feeling of finality to this first act, which makes it a little less jarring for me to all of a sudden see a vampire jump into the movie, even if the tonal switch is out of nowhere. So now the party gets going. First of all, I think the lighting inside of the juke joint is amazing. The warm and comfortable yellow makes for a great party ambiance, but it also works later on as a color of suspense. When the vampires grow in numbers and try to invade the joint, the yellow becomes a very uneasy color in my opinion, showing caution or looming danger. It's about time I talk about the instantly iconic one-shot-esque sequence where Sammy sings. I say one-shot-esque because of course this isn't technically one shot, but this was achieved with the same amount of hard work to make it happen. I love this scene and it makes for a perfect topic of discussion: the music. The music for this film is nothing short of hearty, emotional, and serves to further immerse the viewer into the world of Sinners. Ludwig Göransson has truly made something special here. From climactic songs like Bury That Guitar and Together Forever, to the deep emotional pieces such as Elijah and Free for a Day, this score engraves itself into my head every time I hear it in the context of the film. So back to the quote-unquote "I lied to you" sequence. If there's anything that was going to take the viewer out of the movie, it would definitely be this. This is such an ambitious and gnarly scene to pull off, and the various dancers and musicians both in the forefront and in the background make this a very enjoyable watch. This shows Sammy as one of the grounded artists that still has star power. It shows his music culturally connecting with so many different eras of music and dancing. I think the fact that this is presented as a one-shot sequence really makes the flow of this work, and I don't think it would have worked otherwise. Thankfully, it did come out very well. After Remick and his group cook up a banger at the doorway but get turned away, we get closer to the last stretch of the movie, where everything starts to go down. I want to mention how consistent the character writing is here, as Smoke was never for a second going to let Remick in the juke joint, but when Stack is offered their gold by Mary, he immediately says this.
What, they want to drink with this or something?
I find the pacing here to be a little bit too quick, as it is super jarring the way Mary gets bit, then Cornbread gets bit, Mary goes back to Stack, and Smoke and Bo deal with a situation regarding someone who cheated the dice. The way this little sequence is directed is really choppy, and it makes things a little hard to follow in my opinion. I understand that Smoke needed a reason to go check on Stack so he can see him getting bit, but it felt contrived and was really the only part of the film I'm not fond of. I also think the decision to turn Stack into a vampire was very fitting, but I don't feel like we got enough of the brothers being brothers. Don't get me wrong, I did feel their bond all throughout this film, but sometimes it felt like strictly business and not enough building their relationship. At the very end of the film, it shows quick shots of when the whole group was setting up the juke joint. I feel like we could have seen this sequence in full. It would have helped ease us into bringing all these characters together for the last act, and given more characterization while everything was being set up. As I said earlier, Michael B. Jordan's face as Smoke while Stack is dying is so believable and visceral. As you can see, he can't believe what he's watching. His brother, who stuck with him through war and gang relations, is dying right in front of him after being bit. Now, I just want to skip to Remic's Irish dance scene because I think it's really great, contrasting the earlier oneer of Sammy singing. Remic performs an Irish jig to the song Rocky Road to Dublin, which is filmed and choreographed in a very ritualistic way. Everyone he's turned into vampires have now created a dance circle around him, and it's filmed in a way that makes Remic the center of the song and everyone else brainwashed around him. Whereas when Sammy was singing, the sense of community and centuries of culture were there completely, with everyone dancing in their own styles. This brings up the themes of cultural assimilation once again. Remic wants Sammy's voice and talents so he can have them and his memories. When I first saw this movie, I thought of this mirroring how corrupt music labels are today. They get a talented artist, in this case Sammy, they force them to make music under a contract. Even if the artist doesn't want to, they suck the life out of them, spit them out, then move on to new prey. That was my first interpretation of the vampire metaphor with all the significance to music in this film. Now I see this as a cultural assimilation overall, not just with music but with the mind and soul as well. This is also extremized through the religious aspects of this film, with Sammy not wanting to join his father's church, instead leaning into his talents. As Slim said in the scene when Sammy was singing, blues music wasn't forced upon them like religion might have been. Blues is what they discovered on their own and grew a passion for. So religion is one side where blues music was infamously shunned in this time period, with pastors calling it the music of the devil, and the other side is the devil himself in Remic, who wants to wring Sammy dry of his talents and exploit them. This one scene of Remic dancing kind of ties all that together in my opinion, with the ritualistic dance contrasting what we saw earlier when everyone was truly free. I feel like one of the most heartbreaking parts of this film is when Bo turns. I have yet to talk about Bo and Grace, but they're both really good characters. I understand how they could have been brushed off as side characters, but since Bo was such a charismatic character, it really was sad seeing him try to lure Grace out, and Remic using their daughter as bait for that. I think this whole scene of every major vampire trying to convince the group to come out is terrifying. Remic, Mary, and even Stack are trying to outweigh the pros and cons of turning. While they make it sound like they're all going to live peacefully and together, Remic has already revealed his hand, as he will have all their memories and know every single little thing about them. It's all at the cost of being on Remic's leash, however, and losing their humanity. After Grace invites the vampires in, we get this insanely cool shot of the aspect ratio widening to IMAX, which I'll never stop getting goosebumps from. After the juke joint turns into a vampire COD zombies lobby, we get a really cool scene between Remic and Sammy. As Remic is about to bite Sammy, Sammy starts reciting a prayer as a last resort, in hopes for a miracle or some sort of protection from the devil that's in front of him. I find this really climactic, as Remic is quite literally baptizing Sammy, showing in a real dramatic way that he is fully assimilating him into his quote-unquote religion. After Remic is killed, we get a really amazing conclusion. Smoke goes on a suicide mission as he takes out the clan group that was going to kill them that very morning. I love how Sammy and Smoke's conclusions are shown side by side. Smoke is taking down every clan member, and Sammy has this really deep and emotional moment with his dad telling him to drop the guitar, as he remembers everyone he loves and that's helped him fully realize his talent. The scene where Smoke is dying and sees Annie with their baby is genuinely heartwarming, and gives this character a really great conclusion to his arc. The line where Annie says, "I don't want any of that smoke to get on her," is great. It wraps up his story in a really beautiful way, as his real escape from this hell is the afterlife with his lover and child, away from any life of crime or blood money. Smoke killing the clan leader after he offers Smoke money is really satisfying, and shows all the evil we've seen in this movie just completely get erased. Smoke can be at peace now. Sammy fleeing the Delta and cutting to his older self in the 90s, playing in a bar, still ripping the guitar is amazing. It's such a great way to wrap his storyline up too. Also, seeing him be played by Buddy Guy was a very pleasant surprise. I've already talked about what Stack turned into in this final scene, but I just really think Sammy's resilience to immortality and him saying that he's seen enough of this earth shows his unwavering resilience to make a deal with the devil. Sinners is an ever-shifting, at first loose story that ties its knots in a very satisfying way by the end of it. Every genre this film tackles has a purpose, and they all serve to bring together the greater plot threads. This could have easily been a complete mess if the last act wasn't handled so well, but I think Coogler treated this film with the kind of importance and care it deserves. This is an original, partly horror, 2-hour-long script that managed to garner over $360 million worldwide. Sinners is a beautiful film with amazing character writing and symbolism, even if its pace kind of eats itself at times. I'm very eagerly excited for what Coogler does next and how he'll be evolving his writing. 9 out of 10. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my opinions and interpretations down below. Feel free to give me some video ideas too. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, I highly encourage you to give this video a like and to subscribe. It's completely free and would really help out my channel. I hope to see you again in whatever I do next. Goodbye.